What is your American dream?
Basically, to be able to feed myself and have a roof over my head. That's the basics. Being able to take care of myself, my mom, because she's getting older.
I guess to make enough money so when I get a family, or if I don't make a family, to provide for my family that raised me.
Simply to be happy. That's it. Stress-free and happy as possible. That's really it. To support my friends and family and to lift them up and for us to all succeed together. Yes.
Being happy. Yeah, it's the most important.
Everyone has a right to the American dream.
Groundhog Sam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ugh, exhausting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Crunches. Okay, stretches. Downward groundhog. Very important. Stretch. Groundhog Sam yoga. Oh, hello. Spring is here. It's a lovely day. And I'm realizing I gotta get rid of this paunch because Brad doesn't know it. But I'm gonna be hiding in his bag every time he goes to the beach this summer. Every time. So I gotta look good. Anyway, that's why Groundhog Sam works out. Keep the mind clear and the body tight. And now let me get to my job, which is to tell you all, squad, that now is the time you have all been waiting for. It's time for Brad Show Live, starring Brad Bernstein. Enjoy. Okay, back to the workout. Push-ups. 1, 2, 3.
All right, everybody, it's Brad Show Live. I believe the telephone lines are open, Jill. If you can double check that. Usually we are locked and loaded before the show starts. So I just wanted to make sure our lines are working. Welcome, everybody. It is Monday, April 17th, 2023. My name is Brad Bernstein. I'm going to be answering your immigration questions when you call 1-800-529-5465. We will be schmoozing immigration news. I'm also going to be answering your immigration questions in the comment section. But right now, let's say hello to the squad. Jessica Leamy, Joel, squad up. How are you? Debisha Black saying hola. That's right. Yes, finally I catch a live show. Thank God you made it. And Elisa McPherson, squad up family. Winston Maxwell, squad up. Maureen McFarland, squad up. Alcila McPherson. Ray, it's Monday. I guess that's a hooray, it's Monday. And Bradshaw Live, don't forget to call to ask your immigration questions, 1-800-529-5465 to get all of your immigration questions answered right now. On Sunny Adventure with a pre-schmooze question of the day. Is it okay to travel on advance parole as much as you like? You can travel as much as you like in terms of multiple times. So it's multiple entries in and out of the United States. That's okay because advance parole is always multiple entries. Double check it on your advance parole form that's what it says, but it's what it should say. And that advance parole document is good until the expiration date. So don't travel after the expiration date. But it's also advance parole is for short, innocent, and brief trips abroad. What's short, innocent, and brief? 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. That's short, innocent, and brief. Months and months and months staying out of the U.S. and then trying to return on advance parole is a little more sketchy. And Lawanda, Mike Kimball says, I'm watching. We see you. We see you too. Lady Leach, squad up, my people. And Simone Garway saying, hey guys, one love. MHA saying hi. Hi back. Jasmine Caballero, bless evenings, everybody. Teresa Thompson saying happy Monday. Lisa Bling is in the house. Squad up, Lisa. And Winsome Maxwell also with a pre-schmooze question of the day. Brad, if a spouse has a drug charge on record, can he petition for his wife? He absolutely can petition for his wife. As long as he's paid his debt to society, it's perfectly okay. The only charges that you can petition for if you are a U.S. citizen is if the U.S. citizen has sexual abuse of a minor, then you need a waiver. You also have to be careful, if your spouse is on probation, the U.S. citizen spouse is on probation, you also have to be careful to that if he's on probation, that the probation officer is aware that he or she is in a bona fide marriage, because immigration will likely call that probation officer and find out if, when the wife or the husband, the U.S. citizen wife or husband goes to the probation meeting, if he acknowledges he's married, if he acknowledges that there's a spouse living in the home with him. I learned that the hard way, the very hard way, when I was a very young attorney. I've told this story years ago. I don't think I've told it recently, where an immigration officer called the probation officer. I must have been 24, 25 years old, one of my first cases. And we show up to the interview with the husband and wife. And the U.S. immigration officer says, this is your wife? And he says, yes. And he says, does your probation officer know? And he says, yes. And I said, because that's very interesting. I called your probation officer, and he says he does not know that you're married. As a matter of fact, he claims you're a homosexual. How are you married to a woman? So I learned my lesson the hard way. Make sure that the probation officer is aware as well. That was about 25 years ago. That happened to me. One of my first interviews. But you live and learn. Now I know. Earth Angel Pert, squad up. How are you? 29 Super C, good afternoon, and squad up Brad Show Live. Is there a time frame when my EB3 interview is conducted that my wife can be interviewed for her secondary EB3? It's called a following to join. There's no time frame. As long as you're married, she can go for her interview in 6 months from now or 6 years from now. It's perfectly fine, up until you become a citizen. Then once you're a citizen, it's no longer follow to join. Gabika Suma with one last pre-schmooze question of the day. Why is this going like that? Hey, Brad, my son was born in the United Kingdom in September 2022 at 1 p.m. local time. And I got my citizenship here in September 22 at 9 a.m. My son was born in the United Kingdom, September 22 at 1 p.m. local time. And I guess he's a man because he couldn't have been, I guess, is that a man? Yes, that is a man. I was about to say, how'd you give birth in the UK? But you're obviously the father. All right, so the train's going to Chicago at 20 miles an hour and the wind's blowing 15 miles an hour the other way. I got to do math here. My son was born in the United Kingdom, September 22nd, 1 p.m. And I became a citizen 9 a.m. Central Time. Depends what happened first. If you naturalized before your son was born, then presumably the argument is he's a U.S. citizen. If you naturalized after he was born, you would have to file an I-130 visa petition, and then when he enters the United States, he would become a U.S. citizen. I think if you're talking about the actual, within minutes of one another, it's going to be very hard to prove what happened first. How are you going to prove the moment you swore in? I know you can prove the moment your child was born because it will be in the medical records. I don't know how you would prove the moment, the second, the day, and the minute and the hour you were sworn in. Maybe the hour, but certainly not the minute and second. I think you'd have a hard time doing that because it'd be very close. But you could always file an I-130 for him and, a year from now, he'll be here with his citizenship. Sunny Adventure. I answered that one already, Sunny. And let's say hello to Beverly Station. And I just have to say this. Lambo, you are just exceptional. Oh, thank you very much, Lambo. I appreciate that. And Rachel Lewin, quick question. You got to ask it. Don't ask, can I ask a question? Just ask it, Rachel. We don't have time to read your comment about asking a question. We just ask it. Just go for it. Right in there. Get right at most people. Just ask the question. Okay. You don't have to be polite. We don't have time for politeness. I mean, be polite, but you don't have to ask a question. Just do it. Tracy Haynes. Good afternoon, squad. How are you? And Reginald Amata saying, hello, everybody. Miss you guys. Olatundo. Squad up. Do you do EB-VIW? I guess you're talking about a national interest waiver. There's no VIW. It's an NIW. Yes, I do. And Shireen Humble. Hi, Brad. How soon after doing your biometrics will you receive your green card? How soon after doing your biometrics will you receive your green card? Depends on who's sponsoring you. There's really no time frame. Assuming you're married to a U.S. citizen, you have to assume it's about 1 year to do an adjustment generally. All right, we have to get into our schmooze, but before we get into our schmooze, I do have to remind everybody to put your calls into Spar and Bernstein right now, 1-800-529-5465 to get all of your immigration questions answered. It is also the telephone number to call to make a consultation with me. One telephone number to get on our show, and it's the same telephone number for you to call and schedule a consultation. And coming up, I am going to be answering all of your questions, at least the first 14 people to call into my telephone number. We will answer those questions. I will also try to answer all your questions in the comment section in our social media. But first, let's get into something we call Schmoozing with Brad. All right, so our immigration news on April 13th. USCIS began accepting petitions for workers for the late second half of fiscal year 2023, requesting employment start dates from May 15th to September 30th under the H-2B supplemental cap. Now, there's 10,000 visas being made available under the allocation. They are limited to returning workers who were issued H-2B visas or held H-2B visa status in 2020, 2021, 2022. And on December 15th, 2022, the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Labor jointly published a temporary final rule increasing the cap on H-2B visas to 64,716. So there are 64,716 H-2B visas for the particular year, where they're going to issue another 10,000. The year goes October to October, so it'll be another 10,000 between now and September 30th. And then a new 64,716 H-2B visas come October 1st. There are 20,000 visas set aside on H-2B visas for El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Haiti. And on April 1st, 2022, the USCIS announced it is no longer accepting a single combined fee payment for immigration filings. This means separate payments, separate checks are required for adjustment of status filings. So, for example, previously the filing fee was $1,760 in one chunk. Now you have to pay $535 for the I-130, and you have to pay $1,225 for the adjustment. And out of that $1,225, you got to carve $85 out of that for the biometric fee. So you're going to end up sending 3 checks instead of 1. And that also goes for the I-539s. That's the application to extend and change non-immigrant status, I-765. So basically, any forms you're filing now, each form requires a separate filing fee check in that exact amount. and you can't combine all the filing fees into one. And USCIS says if you're going to combine all the filing fees into one, they're going to reject the case. And they say they're doing it because it's an update that is transitioning to electronically processing immigration benefits requests. This means the agency will be using multiple computer systems to receive and process various types of immigration benefit requests. And because applications are not all processed in the same computer systems, they now require separate payments for each of their forms. In its announcement, USCIS had acknowledged that using multiple checks, asking people to pay 2-3 checks in one adjustment application, for example, could be burdensome. And it is. Trust me, it is. However, they say that they believe that the advantage of electronic processing to both the agency and to the public outweigh the inconvenience of submitting individual payment fees. We'll see. We'll see if they do a better job. And on Thursday, April 13th, the Biden administration said it will propose a new rule to expand health care coverage for DACA recipients. DACA gives eligible immigrants who are brought to the USA at a young age the ability to legally study and work in the United States of America. However, due to their status, they have limited access to health insurance coverage. Now the Department of Health and Human Services is drafting an expanded definition of lawful presence to also include DACA. If approved, the rule would allow dreamers to apply for coverage through Medicaid or Affordable Care Act marketplaces. They will be able to obtain Medicaid coverage in most states if they are poor, and they can qualify for subsidies to buy private coverage in state marketplaces everywhere if the DACA recipients earn more. The White House statement said it expected to get this done by the end of the month, even though executive action, as Biden is doing, can often take months. Let's watch the video of Biden on Twitter.
When President Obama and I created the DACA program, we knew it would transform lives, and it has, bringing stability and possibility to hundreds of thousands of young people known as dreamers, brought to America's children. This country is the only home they've ever known. They're our friends, they're our co-workers. They study, they work hard, they start businesses. Many have served in our military, and many were essential workers in the front lines of the pandemic. They're American in every way except on paper. It's past time for Congress to give dreamers a pathway to citizenship. And while we work toward that goal alongside dreamers, advocates, members of Congress, we need to give dreamers the opportunities and support they deserve. So today, my administration is announcing our plan to expand health coverage for DACA recipients by allowing them to enroll in the plan through the Affordable Care Act or through Medicaid. Health care should be a right, not a privilege. My administration has worked hard to expand health care, and today, more Americans have health insurance than ever. Today's announcement is about giving DACA recipients the same opportunity. And we'll continue to do what we can to protect dreamers and push Congress to give them and their families a pathway to citizenship and ultimately peace of mind they all deserve.
So in the video, President Biden said the rule is needed in order to give dreamers the opportunities and support they deserve, which is a very lofty goal and something we agree with here at Bradshaw Live. But Republicans, of course, they would criticize such a plan. Senator Mitch McConnell, Republican of Kentucky, and the minority leader said in a statement, the Democrats want our citizens to pay new taxpayer-funded benefits for illegal immigrants. These are people who came here when they were little kids. They had no choice to come here and live most of their life here, was educated here, and they are contributing to the U.S. economy. Hardly illegal aliens. Certainly would not be characterized as that. The total cost of the program is unclear because it would depend on how many DACA recipients enroll in the federal health insurance programs. But based on estimates that around a third of the about 580,000 DACA enrollees are currently uninsured, an approximate federal cost of $5,000 per person for coverage, the total cost of the program could run $1 billion. As for an update on DACA, hundreds of thousands of dreamers are still in a state of uncertainty about their status. The Trump administration tried to terminate DACA, but the Supreme Court ruled against that move in June of 2020. The court did not, however, decide on whether the program had been legally adopted. A federal appeals panel ruled last year that DACA was illegal, but allowed those already enrolled to keep their status and keeping the status of the program unchanged, but the future of the enrollees up in the air. And right now, the government cannot accept new DACA applications. A Texas judge is also considering a policy proposed by the Biden administration that would maintain the program. So DACA is in a lot of litigation. So if you have DACA, got to think, what could I do to transition from DACA to green card? You got to start thinking about that in the future. You can't keep your head buried in the sand because we don't know what's going to happen. And from September 8th to November 5th, 2021, the Center for American Progress, United We Dream, the National Immigration Law Center, fielded a national survey to analyze the experiences of DACA recipients. In this survey, the authors asked a comprehensive set of questions about DACA recipients' access to health care and services. The research finds that respondents face significant health care disparities. When respondents were asked about the significant barriers that prevent them from obtaining health insurance or health care coverage, 61% of DACA recipients identified their immigration status as a significant barrier to getting medical coverage. 50% of DACA recipients said they were not aware of affordable care or coverage available to them. 47% of DACA recipients said there was a time they delayed medical care simply because of their immigration status. 67% of DACA recipients said they or a family member were unable to pay their medical bills. And 82% of DACA recipients said they would be worried about the quality of care if they had to go back to their country of origin. And on April 7th, the Department of Homeland Security said migrants who enter the United States illegally will be screened by asylum officers while in custody under a limited experiment that provides them access to legal counsel. The new approach started last week with a tiny number of migrants. Officials said that the trial run is part of preparations for the end of the pandemic-related rule known as Title 42 that is expected to end on May 11th, and that has suspended the rights of many to seek asylum. If expanded, the new screening could bring major changes to how people are processed upon reaching U.S. soil to seek asylum. Homeland Security officials said they will begin working with a legal service provider they declined to name that will represent asylum seekers at initial screenings known as the credible fear interview. The screening interviews will be conducted in large U.S. Customs and Border Protection temporary facilities stocked with phone lines that will be used for the hearings. CBP policy limits detention to 72 hours, which will be the target to complete the screenings. So if this program goes into effect, the catch and release, which is what's happening right now under the Biden administration, will turn into 72 hours in detention, credible fear interview. If you pass, then released. If not, removed. Now, Donald Trump introduced expedited screening while in CBP custody, but President Biden scrapped it in his first week in office. The Biden administration officials say the new attempt differs by ensuring access to legal counsel and requiring that screenings be done by U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service asylum officers, not Border Patrol agents, as happened under Donald Trump. Officials said that currently it takes about 4 weeks to conduct a screening interview, and if someone fails to meet the criteria, another 4 to 5 weeks for air transportation back to their home countries. This new tack, which they're going to try to do, aims to shorten that time to less than 72 hours, the maximum allowed to hold someone in a Customs and Border Patrol facility under agency policy. Homeland Security said in a statement, this administration will continue to look at every tool available to make asylum processing more efficient while upholding due process and other protections as Congress refuses to act to fix our decades-old broken immigration system. The administration has expelled migrants 2.7 million times under a rule since March 2020 that denies rights to seek asylum under U.S. and international law on grounds of preventing the spread of COVID-19. Title 42, as the public health rule is known, is scheduled to end May 11th. Homeland Security officials have estimated illegal entries from Mexico could rise to 13,000 people a day after Title 42 expires, compared to about 5,500 in February. Currently, few migrants are screened at the border if they express fear of being returned home and are often released to pursue asylum and backlog U.S. immigration courts, which takes years. And I see that in my own practice. People crawl through the fence, crawl over the fence, crawl under the fence, go around the fence, however they do, they get picked up and released and left to file for asylum within a year of entry and then fight out in court. And that's happening right now. This whole program is going to look to change that. Now, most people pass the initial screening, which establishes a relatively low bar to be allowed into the USA and continue with your asylum. 77% of the people who go on a credible fear interview in March of 2023 passed their credible fear interview and were released into the United States to pursue an asylum case. Now, that doesn't mean that your asylum case is going to be approved. The final approval rate for asylum from immigration judges and immigration officers is substantially lower. And in April of 2018, the Trump administration intentionally, talking about Trump, intentionally separated thousands of migrant children from their parents at the southern border in an aggressive attempt to discourage family crossings. You may remember this. And the policy caused lasting trauma and drew widespread condemnation. If you remember, they were taking families who were crossing with children and taking children and putting them in one detention and taking mothers and fathers and putting them in a separate detention. Now, the New York Times has reported that it's become clear that a number of U.S. citizen children were also removed from their parents under the zero tolerance policy, in which migrant parents were criminally prosecuted and jailed for crossing the border without authorization. Most of the children involved were born in the United States to immigrant parents who then went back to their home countries but returned due to a worsening economy and gang violence. According to lawyers and immigrant advocates who are working with the government to find the families, hundreds and possibly as many as 1,000 children born to immigrant parents in the United States were removed from them at the border. In many cases, these U.S. citizen children were placed into foster care, and even to this day, 5 years later, have yet to be reunited with their parents. Paige Chan, executive director of the nonprofit Together and Free, who has been working with the federal task force charged to finding separated families, said, "We don't even know where these parents are today and whether or not they even know where their children are." Some 5,500 foreign-born children were already known to have been separated from their parents under this policy. Legal analysts said U.S. citizen children separated under this policy did not have additional rights that would have prevented them, did not have additional rights that would have prevented them from being taken from their parents who were jailed. In fact, it may have put them at a disadvantage. Their status as citizens automatically placed them under the oversight of state child welfare authorities, complicating efforts to track them and reconnect them with their parents. Foreign-born children were transferred to shelters operated by the Federal Office of Refugee Resettlement, where they were entered into federal databases and eventually allowed to speak with their parents by telephone. But there was no such system for children sent to state foster care systems, because if you cross over with your child and your child was a U.S. citizen, your child's not going to go to immigration detention. Your child's going to go straight to foster care. And you, the parent, went to immigration detention. And state foster care and federal immigration detention, they ain't talking. And that's why you have now over 1,000 U.S. citizen children who have no idea where their parents are. The situation became even more difficult when parents were deported. Carlos Hogan, a lawyer who has represented thousands of migrant children in federal custody, said, if a state judge decided against returning a child to a migrant parent and no U.S. citizen was available, the child may be placed in foster care until he or she reaches 18 years of age. Very, very sad. And on April 11th, the Federal Attorney General's Office of Mexico announced that the head of the country's National Immigration Institute in Ciudad Juarez, south of El Paso, Texas, will face criminal charges for a fire that killed 40 migrants in a locked cell on March 27th. The office said in a statement that the head of the immigration agency, Francisco Guarduno, was criminally remiss in not preventing the fire despite earlier incidences that showed the situation in the country's migration detention centers needed correcting. Several other officers of the agency will also face charges for failing to carry out their duties, but prosecutors did not explain what specific charges or identify the officials. Prosecutors said the case showed a pattern of irresponsibility. They said that after a fire at another detention center in the Gulf Coast state of Tabasco killed 1 person and injured 14 in 2020. The immigration agency knew there were problems which needed to be corrected, but alleged they failed to act. The statement was released hours after Mexico's President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador said 2 guards seen fleeing when the fire broke out did not have keys to the cell doors. A video from a security camera inside the facility shows guards walking away when the fire started in late March. The guards are seen hurrying away as smoke fills the facility, with detainees locked inside, burning inside, dying inside, unable to leave. 3 Mexican immigration officials, a guard, and a Venezuelan migrant are being held for investigation in connection with the fire. The Institute said 68 men from Central and South America were staying at the immigration facility at the time of the fire. They all perished, and they were from Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador. Guatemalans making up most of those men. And on Wednesday, April 12th, faced with persistent attacks from Florida Republicans, including presumed 2024 presidential candidate Ron DeSantis, immigrant and LGBTQ rights groups issued advisories for traveling to the southeastern United States. The moves by the Florida Immigration Coalition, FLIC, and Equality Florida follow the NAACP Florida State Conference voting unanimously last month to ask the national group's board of directors to issue a travel advisory for the entire Black community. FLIC's advisory, issued as a website, comes as Ron DeSantis pressures the GOP-controlled state legislature to pass measures that would threaten Florida residents with felony charges if they provide undocumented immigrants with shelter, transportation, or work, while also requiring publicly funded schools and hospitals to participate in the crackdown. So if you're a taxi driver and you take an undocumented immigrant, you're committing a felony. You're a bus driver, you're committing a felony. You're a landlord and lease to somebody who's undocumented, you're committing a felony. At least that's what they want to pass in Florida. The website warns travel to all areas of Florida should be done with extreme caution, as it can be unsafe for people of color, individuals who speak with an accent, and international travelers. Due to unconstitutional legislation supported by Governor Ron DeSantis and introduced by legislative leadership, every county in Florida poses a heightened risk of harassment, possible detainment, and potential family separation based on racial profiling. I'd like to see, actually, if this law passes, U.S. citizens being arrested. And we'll see how many U.S. citizens it takes to get arrested before people start fighting back. Because it's very easy to bash immigrants, but when it's a U.S. citizen who's a voter getting arrested, that's a different story. Because those voters can oust their elected officials. Florida is poised to pass laws creating criminal penalties for medical providers also, who provide medically necessary care for transgender youth, weaponizing the courts to shred existing child custody agreements and reassign transgender youth to an unsupportive parent, and severely restricting access to prescribed medical care for transgender adults. Florida's pastor is poised to also pass bills that restrict access to reproductive health care, including a near-total abortion ban, which threatens to force people to travel out of state or seek unsafe, illegal abortions. Equality Florida similarly pointed to the passage of laws that are hostile to the LGBTQ community, restricted access to reproductive health care, repealing gun safety laws, and allowing untrained, unpermitted carry and foment racial prejudice when warning that the Sunshine State may not be a safe place to visit or even take up residence. Brian Griffith, a spokesperson for Ron DeSantis, told the Florida Times that the new advisories were a political stunt, and we aren't going to waste time worrying about political stunts, but we will continue doing what is right for Floridians. But while Florida is being declared unsafe by immigration rights groups and federal immigration legislation may seem unlikely in the short term, I do have some good news. Significant victories at the state and local levels continue to be won. The National Immigration Law Center recent report looking back at the past 10 years illustrates there is energy, momentum, and support in many states that can be leveraged and turned into meaningful change. For example, last month, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz signed a bill into law to allow undocumented immigrants to obtain state-issued driver's licenses. When the legislation driver's licenses for all goes into effect on October 1st, Minnesota is going to become the 19th state to enact this policy, along with Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico. With a driver's license, age-eligible immigrants in Minnesota, no matter their immigration status, will have the freedom to drive their children to school, pick up groceries, commute to work, visit a doctor's office without fear of losing their car, getting detained, or paying a heavy fine. Like all drivers in Minnesota, recipients will be required to obtain insurance and pass a written test and a road test to get a driver's license. Advocates and elected officials in other states, including Idaho, Wisconsin, and Texas, have indicated interest in organizing around similar legislation to provide state-issued licenses. In November's midterm elections, voters not only flipped Arizona blue for Democrats, but also passed Proposition 308, which in Arizona will provide in-state tuition to students regardless of immigration status. This is a state that in 2010 passed a discriminatory anti-immigration bill, 1070, and which was home to anti-immigrant Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who was convicted of criminal contempt for his targeting of immigrants. Local activists and immigrant rights groups who spent years organizing and turning out the vote led to these victories and provide hope for all of us. In Massachusetts, voters also turned out in support of providing driver's licenses to immigrants, regardless of their status. And each of these victories was won when Congress was divided and prospects for progress in Washington had dimmed. This hope didn't only come from places you might expect. Advocates have made real progress for immigrant communities in many deep red Republican pockets of America. In Tennessee, advocates successfully fought to stop the county sheriff in Nashville from renting jail beds to immigration and customs enforcement. Students in Utah who have long been waiting for a path to citizenship can now apply for the state's college scholarship programs. So can their counterparts in Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Texas. And DACA recipients and other work-authorized immigrants can now obtain professional and occupational licenses in Arkansas, one of 17 states to allow it. Elsewhere, bold new policies are pushing the envelope on what's possible for immigrant justice. In 8 states in the District of Columbia, immigrant taxpayers can now receive a state-based version of the Earned Income Tax Credit. And 3/4 of America's foreign-born population live in a state that has extended access to health coverage to at least some children, pregnant people, and older adults, regardless of their immigration status. These state and local achievements don't always make the national headlines, but they are proof of the growing collective strength of the immigrants who call the United States of America their home. So even as Congress continues to drop the ball on immigration reform, and even as you hear these scary headlines from Florida and the scary headlines from the southern border, I wanted everyone to know, and I wanted everyone to know that it's important to remember that immigrants and organizers do make changes in their communities on the state and local level, and they're being successful making changes on the state and local level. And eventually, it's going to be a wake-up call for Congress. All right, so that's our schmooze for the day. I do have to tell everybody about a quick success story from Spar and Bernstein, and then we're going to go right into your immigration calls. Mildred and Melissa and their family members were living undocumented in the United States until they came to Spar and Bernstein, and we worked to make sure they and their relatives became lawful permanent residents. The mom and daughter duo spoke to us about working with Spar and Bernstein when they came to the office to pick up their green cards. Let's hear what they had to say.
Hi everyone, we just want to say thank you to the family of Bernstein and to the whole team. I mean, they really helped my family, my whole entire family, and it's really, they're God's blessing to us. My whole family got our green card, and come and join the family as well.
They will do the best for all of us, not for their interest, but for our interest. I will thank to Attorney Bernstein.
Thank you.
He's a nice guy. This company is the best.
Yes.
I'll tell you. They will not do crook or whatever. All is come. And this is the right place you go.
The right one.
Thank
The
you.
right one.
Congratulations.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Congratulations. All right, so we're ready to do our meat and potatoes. Let's do it. I hope we're all right, we got Mark from Marietta. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing good.
What can I do to help you today?
Yeah, I have a friend. We've been friends for a while now. So he told me his problem with the wife. So they have been married since 2018. But they've been living. He was in overseas. He just got here last year March. So it didn't work out because the distance based after they got married, they stayed apart like 3 years before they came together, before he had to fly here. So he got here, so it didn't work out. So now he's living separately. They have not yet divorced. So he was just asking, like, what is the situation?
He didn't get a green card, right?
No, he got his green card. He got his 10 years green card.
Oh, he got his 10-year green card.
Yeah, but he was asking if he go ahead and divorce, or he could just wait and get his citizenship, or he can still go ahead and divorce and wait after.
Well, he's separated, so he's going to wait on his citizenship for 5 years after he got his 10-year card either way. Because if you're going to do it based on 3 years, you have to prove you're living in a bona fide marriage with your spouse. And perhaps he was living in a bona fide marriage with his spouse in the past, but he's not living in a bona fide marriage with his spouse at the present. So just because you're married doesn't mean it's bona fide. There's a big difference between having a marriage certificate and being in a bona fide marriage. Bona fide marriage means you live together, have a financial relationship. So if you're not in a bona fide marriage with your spouse, you got to wait 5 years, not the 3. So there's no purpose in him remaining married to his wife unless he's just lackadaisical and doesn't want to get divorced, or maybe some financial consideration about not getting divorced, but it's going to have no bearing on his immigration case. So if he wants to get divorced, he'll get divorced.
Okay, they don't have a kid. They don't have.
No, he's going to wait. Either way, he's going to wait 5 years for his citizenship.
Okay, so there's no point of being in the marriage again if things not working out.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
All right.
He listening to you.
Good. Perfect.
You helped us before the past with my sister.
Right.
So I just he didn't have the chance to call you, so I said let me call you. But you're listening.
Tell him to call me at 5 years. I'll do his citizenship. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to Jason in Peekskill. Jason.
Good afternoon, brother. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I have a couple questions here. Yes, my wife is sponsoring my kids them back home in Jamaica. But from last year, September, we submit all the paperwork, we pay all the fees and stuff. And we still doesn't hear nothing from National Visa Center yet. Like, all they said the case is in processing, waiting for interview.
Your kids are documentarily qualified?
Yes.
And how long have they been documentarily qualified?
It's from last year, March, we get back the I-130 from USCIS.
Nope. That's not my question. The I-130 is approved. The case gets transferred to the National Visa Center. They send you some bills to pay, the fee bills. You pay the fee bills. Then they tell you to upload all the documents, the affidavits of support and everything else, complete the biographic data forms, and then you get a response online that says you are documentarily qualified. You're all done. When did that happen?
Oh, that happened from October. Yeah, that happened from the 3rd of October.
Okay, so it's now October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. You're about 8 months, and these children are how old?
The one is 21, one is 18.
But they were
and
all
one is
filed by
22.
your wife. But they were all filed by your wife, who was a U.S. citizen, right?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Fine. So they're still under the Child Status Protection Act. They're still under 18. They're still immediate relatives. Would you believe an immediate relative means they're immediately eligible for a green card and they've been waiting all this time? Quite ironic, right? What,
Yeah.
and if you've watched my show in the past, I said, we should threaten a mandamus. And we started
Right, correct, yes.
threatening mandamuses against the National Visa Center. And you know what happens? They start scheduling interviews. So maybe we may want to have to start thinking about that with you as well.
Okay, so can you set me up for a consultation?
Hold on one second. Let's go to Stephanie in Naples.
Yes.
Hi,
Hi.
Stephanie.
Hi, Brad.
How are you, Stephanie?
I am doing well. I have a question. I got married to a Nigerian, and
Stephanie,
and I wanted,
Stephanie,
yes.
time out. Shut the volume off on your computer and just talk into your phone.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So I got married in Nigeria last year, and I wanted to know your advice, because I know it's going to be a year or 2 years if I put in the I-130.
Probably 2 years.
And I wanted to know if you advise, he's trying to file for a visiting visa.
Well, if you put in an I-130, he's definitely not going to get a visitor's visa. Yeah.
We didn't put it in yet.
Yeah, I said if you do, you're definitely not going to get a visitor's visa. It depends. I would say it's unlikely to get a visitor's visa from Nigeria because he's going to have to say he's married to a U.S. citizen. So unless he has a lot of ties back to Nigeria, and he's going to go in and he's going to say, I have no intention of living in the United States. I'm just going to visit my wife and I'm going back to Nigeria and I'm not living in the U.S., blah, 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 blah. And presuming that they believe him, well, then, yeah, but I would say that's going to be a hard sell. So unless he can get a visa appointment in a short period of time, I would tell you bite the bullet, start the I-130 as quickly as possible. And then one thing that you can do to try to speed things up is after the I-130 is filed and you get the receipt, you file for a K3 petition. And the K3 petition, which is done on an I-129 form, is an application to allow your husband to come into the United States and wait for his I-130 to be processed in the U.S.
How long after I put in the I-130 I can
as soon as you get the receipt back for the I-130, you can put in for the K3. And a lot of times that makes the case speed up.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. You're very welcome.
I would want to know your charges, but could you transfer me to the other person?
Yep. Hold on. All right. Let's go to Raquel in Brooklyn. Oh, other person.
Hello.
Hi, 1 second.
Okay.
Whoever's answering my phones, call back that last caller. I disconnected. My apologies. Okay, Raquel, how are you?
Hi, Brad.
How are you?
I'm fine. So I have a quick question, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get married in February 2022. Start my paperwork in May 2022. Get approval of I-130. Get a work permit in June. Social in July 2022. But the thing is, right, since then, it's still been actively reviewed. And I have a deficiency notice of an I-693, which is a medical, which is outstanding. Mm-hmm. So my question is it within 10 months now, should I go ahead and send in the medical?
No, wait for them to. No. Don't send in anything unless they ask for it, because it'll never hit your file. So wait for them to ask for it, then send it in. It's not unusual to wait 12, 15 months for a final interview, or many times now on marriage cases, they're just approving it without an interview. So wait 12 to 15 months from the time you filed. And if it's still 15 months later and you haven't heard anything yet, call me back.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good luck.
Yeah, thank
All right, let's go to Walfredo in Ridgefield, New Jersey. Walfredo.
Hi, good afternoon, Brad.
Walfredo, how are you?
Doing fine, doing fine. Great. So I have a question. My question is I'm currently filling out right now the I-130A, and I'm seeing that I have to put the residence of my wife's dad. But he's here in the United States undocumented, and he's been here for the past 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And she currently lives at his house. The house in Honduras is under his name. And I don't know what address should I put, because
Put
she eventually
down
wants
the state and country he lives in. So if he lives in New Jersey, just write whatever his name is. New Jersey, let's say.
Okay. And even though he's undocumented here, he's been for 15 years here, that's still fine. I could put that?
Yep, nobody's looking for him.
Okay, yeah, because he's been fine. Okay. And then she's going to, when she becomes a citizen, her plan is to petition for him and her. Will that answer give her any problems in the future?
No.
No? Okay, well, that's all I had to put there. So I just have to put the state that he's in, and that's it, right?
Yeah, the answer to your problem is you have no problem. All right?
Yeah, I was just overthinking everything. All right, then I appreciate that.
Bye-bye. All right, let's go to Philip in Orlando. Philip.
Hello, good evening, Sir Brad.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right, not bad. I have a case here where I got a conditional residence in 2020, which expires in 2022. However, I got divorced, then got remarried, filed a new adjustment of status. I recently get a decision saying the adjustment of status was denied, reason being.
You never removed the conditions of your residence.
Okay, so I have to remove the conditions of the old one.
Yeah. So if you have a 2-year conditional green card, even if you get divorced, you still have to go through the process of the I-751 before your green card status is terminated. So until immigration terminates your green card status, you still have a green card. So you can't adjust your status from green card to green card. That's basically what they're saying. So you have to file a late I-751 application with an excuse why you're filing late. And the excuse is, I thought I got remarried. I thought I can file an adjustment. I didn't know I had to file a new I-751. And you submit it with proof that you're divorced. Submit it with proof that you and your first spouse were in a bona fide marriage. If they accept your excuse, then your green card will be extended for another 2-3 years while they process it. If they say, no, we're not going to allow you to file this late, now your green card status is now terminated, then you would file the adjustment again through your second wife. But it sounds like you're going to need the help of a lawyer because you're going about this the wrong way. All right, so hold on one second. All right.
Okay.
All right, let's go to Shanique in Queens. Shanique. Shanique in Queens.
Hi,
Shanique.
Brad.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so glad I got you. I filed for my sister in 2012.
Right.
And she got approved in 2020, the notice of approval. She's in Jamaica. And then since then, it's just staying pending in in Kingston. So they didn't put for us to pay the fees or anything. Do you know about how long we're going to have to wait?
Yeah, they're processing.
It's for her and her 2 kids.
Yeah, for brothers and sisters, you filed in, let me look on my phone. You filed in 2012, you said?
Yeah. And
right.
it was for her and her 2 children.
All right. So I don't think they've reached 2012 yet. Let's see where they're at. So for the month of April, they're in 2007. For at least 5 years.
God.
At least 5 more years. Yeah, brothers and sisters
God.
are brutal. Yeah.
Wow. And there's nothing I could do to speed it up, right?
No, you can't. There's no mandamus to jump the line.
Okay. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for everything.
Sorry about that.
Okay, bye.
All right, let's go to Eunice in Tacoma Park, Maryland. Eunice.
Hello.
Hi, Eunice.
Hi, Brad.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I do.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I still do.
Okay. So I have two questions.
Go ahead.
My question is, the first one is on, can I travel if I'm out of status internally, like from one state to the other?
Yeah, I mean, you could always travel. I'll give you some warnings. I think the safest mode of travel in the U.S., in my opinion, is by air. Some people will disagree with me, but I think it's air. All you have to do is show a valid passport, an airplane. If you're going to take a train or a bus, if you're going to travel by train or bus, you have to look at the routes they are going, because many buses and trains, especially up north, the route goes United States through Canada and back, or sometimes the route goes very close to the border, and that's where people run into trouble.
Okay, and then my second question is, so that means I can use like my passport to travel?
Yes.
The passport that has the expired visa in?
Correct.
And I won't be questioned?
I mean, I can't never give you a personal guarantee, but as a general rule, you will not be questioned. All right? It's like asking me, Brad, if I cross the street, do you think I'm going to get to safely the other side, or is a car going to hit me? I would say, as a general rule, I would assume you're going to get across the street, but there's always I mean, if you want to be 100% safe, stay under the covers, but you can't live your life like that.
I understand. Got you. And then my second question is, so I'm currently getting married on the end of this month, and he previously got divorced in December. We have a child together during their divorce time in 2020 when they were rounding up. I got pregnant and had a baby. So we're thinking of filing for me using his citizenship. He's a citizen now.
Right.
And we wanted to know what are the things that will help our case. Do we let them know we have a baby?
You have a baby together, so that's proof
we
that you didn't pay him to marry you, because it's very rare you would have a baby and pay someone to marry. So that's a good. That's very helpful. If you live together with him, if you
divorce,
let me finish my words. Let me finish my words now. You can marry him tomorrow. You're both free to get married. It doesn't matter how long it takes, since the divorce. Go get married. You have a child together. As long as you live together, have a financial relationship, you don't have a criminal record, you'll get your green card.
Okay, got you. And then my issue was, do we do the filing immediately? It doesn't raise questions because he just divorced?
Well, there shouldn't be any questions, and maybe he got his green card through his former spouse. Then we just got to look.
Yes, that's the problem. He got the green card to the former, but they were married for 10 years.
Oh, then forget it. No, that's fine. Go get married. He has a long relationship with this person. All right. And if you need help, hold on one second.
All right. Thank you.
All right, let's go to Sandra in Queens.
Oh my God.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, I'm good, Brett. How are you?
Good. What can I do?
A quick question. I actually sponsored my husband in August of 2021. He did enter the country at the border, and he was detained. He was interviewed and let go with the intention of him applying for asylum, but he never did. And he still has that case outstanding. His case is under review since December the 3rd, but we haven't heard anything from them. I don't know if we need to file something else. I know we can't do an adjustment of status yet. My question is,
how is he allowed into? What do you mean you can't do an adjustment of status yet?
I'm sorry. How is what?
All right. So he came across the border. You married him after he came across the border. Does he have to go see an immigration judge?
Yes, he does.
Okay. So
the problem with that, they keep postponing that case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So everything has to be done through the immigration judge. Right. I don't know what his claim for asylum is. You could also try to argue that he was inspected and paroled into the United States because they presumably nabbed him right as he crossed the border, and then they paroled him into the U.S. So factually, even though they claim he entered without inspection, you can claim no, he was paroled into the U.S. So there's things you can do even on a marriage-based case. It's on a, but you have to get before a judge. That's the bottom line.
How can we bring that case forward? Can we do that? Is that possible?
Motion to a judge to recalendar.
Uh-huh.
Hold on.
But we have to do that. Okay.
No, lawyer does that. The lawyer who wants to help you does that. Hold on.
Mhm.
All right, let's go to Beverly in Kingston.
Yes, hello. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Brad?
How you doing?
I'm okay. I'm okay. Just a few questions I wanted to ask you. My name is Beverly.
Hi, Beverly.
And, the first question is, in 1997, my father became a citizen when I was under 18 years old. My father cared for me, but my parent was not divorced. And I tried to find out if my father filed tax for me. But they said that I'm not a citizen underneath my father because there wasn't a divorce. Is that true?
Was your father a citizen when you were born, or he became a citizen after you were born?
After I was born.
Okay. And did your father ever file for you?
As it meaning as tax wise, or when you became a citizen?
Green card wise.
No, I don't believe so.
So you never had a green card. Okay. Yeah, you're not a citizen.
Yes. I had.
Yeah.
Yes, I had a green card.
Oh, you did have a green card.
Yes.
Oh, I see. And did you live? How old are you now?
I know what to say now.
Okay. How old are you now?
Say that again. I'm 62.
Okay. So, and you had a green card when you were a minor?
Yes, my father and my mother brought me up and with a green card legally.
Okay. But your parents never divorced?
No, they wasn't divorced. They were just separated.
And when you were born, were your parents married?
I believe not. I don't think so. No.
Okay. And your father, he never got any custody of you or anything like that?
He was just caring for me and I was living with him.
You were living with him, but never did anything in terms of legal custody?
No, he did not.
All right. Yeah. Unfortunately, your father would have either had to have divorced your mother would have had to pass away, or your father would have had to have done something in a court to get legal custody of you in order for you to be an automatic citizen. And it's unfortunate because if these same facts were today and you were calling me and you told me you were turned 18 after February of 2021, you would be a U.S. citizen. But because this happened before February 2021, it's the old laws and you would not be.
Okay, that's the first question. The next question is, when you are being deported by an immigration judge, is it mandatory for the judge to tell you of your right to appeal and let you know if there's any waiver available to prevent you from being deported?
The judge has to tell you if there's waivers available that you didn't apply for.
So what if the judge did not, and I try to find out ways to come back to the U.S.?
What we would have to do is get a copy of your immigration records and see everything that happened in court. See if we could even get the transcripts of what was said in court, and then make a determination if your rights were violated or not. If they were violated and you had a patented right to a waiver, and you can show facts that would indicate that had that waiver application been filed, you had a chance of winning, then certainly we would make a motion to try to reopen your case and bring you back because your constitutional rights were violated.
Okay, so what if when I came back the second time because of hardship, the prosecutor tried to find out, and it came back with the prosecutor says there's nothing in the court that Miss Nelson was warned in any way, but still she's still
Well,
going to
it
have
sounds
to
like you
get
tried to
deported.
re-enter after a deportation, which is another problem in of itself. So I think in this type of situation, I'm not going to solve your problems on a live show in 45 seconds to a minute. The way to solve your problem would be for me to get your immigration records, review it all, and see if there's a way that if your rights were violated, if it was violated to such a significant effect on your immigration case that you otherwise would have won your case, that we would discuss and consider whether it warrants a motion to reopen.
Okay, and the third question is, do you know if there was a waiver available back in 1995 to prevent a person from getting deported, especially if the person has documents that could have prevented that deportation?
There were a lot of waivers available in 1995. It depends on the facts of your case.
Oh, because of the okay. And number 4, is it true that a person is automatically deportable under the 1996 Anti-Terrorist Act once that person did 5 years or over?
If you did 5 or more years in jail, depends on what it was for, but most likely you would be an aggravated felon.
And I would be deportable.
Correct. It sounds like to me you got deported. Your case was pretermitted, which means that in 96 through 2001, they were not allowing 212C waivers, and then the Supreme Court overruled and said, okay, all those people who got deported between 95 and 2001 were eligible for a waiver. But a lot of people got, and it was under a case called St. Cyr, STCYR. But it sounds like to me that may be your case, and you got deported and the waivers became available after you got deported. Whether or not, 25 years later we can do anything about it, we would have to look into your file.
Oh, and I'm aware of what you say because someone did tell me, but I was deported then. And number 5, was it legal in 1996 under the Anti-Terrorist Act to get expedite removal in 6 days, losing all your rights to appeal, even though you can show sign, even what the lawyer?
If you're an aggravated felon, they did have expedited removal.
Okay, and with that expedited removal, there wasn't no waiver. I'm aware there was a 212H waiver.
Beverly, again,
yes, sir?
I'm never going to solve your problems here. Have a consultation with me, and let.
Hello?
Talk to you.
Hello? I'm losing you.
I don't know. All right, so let's see.
Hello?
Yeah, hi. Hold on one second.
Okay.
All right, hold on one second. All right. Let's go to Shakira.
Hi, Brad.
Hi, Shakira. How are you?
Good evening, my best lawyer. I have a question to ask. If you file for VOWA, you approve for the VOWA, and your interview is coming up, and your interview is coming up on May 9th, and you have a criminal open case. Is it possible for me to still go on the interview, or what's going to be happening on the interview?
Well, you should go on the interview, because if you don't go, you'll be denied. But they're not going to approve any case while you have a criminal case pending, and probably a certain amount of time to resolve that criminal case. And if you don't resolve it within that amount of time, then your case will be denied. If your VAWA is already approved, you could always, at the conclusion of that criminal case, if it's successful in your favor, refile a new adjustment.
Okay, because I'm a client of yours.
Okay.
But I called in on the show just to speak to you in person so I could hear your advice. So I should still go on the interview.
Yes.
And they're not going to deny it, right?
They could, but they could give you time to resolve the criminal case. But if you're my client, there's no reason to call me on the show. I'm happy to talk to you off the air. So hold on one second, okay? Let's go to Faylene in New York. Hi, Faylene.
Hello?
Hi, Faylene.
Hello?
Faylene, how are you?
I'm fine.
What can I do to help you?
I can hardly hear you.
I said, how can I help you?
Oh, yes. I have a question. I came here in the United States when I was a child, and my auntie took me to the social security office, and I get a social security number, and she gave it to her daughter to use. Is that going to affect me when I'm getting my papers?
You got a social security number when you were a child, and it was given to you by your aunt.
Yes.
Okay. The actual act of getting a social security number when you're a child shouldn't affect you because you have no control over that. If you've used that social security number and made false claims to U.S. citizenship as an adult to get jobs or something like that, that could be a problem. All right. So,
Okay.
But wait. I don't want you to say anything because we're not having a confidential conversation. We're having a conversation with 300 other people and at the moment watching, and thousands of people will watch within the next couple of days. So I was having a consultation. Hold on one second, okay? All right, so that is our meat and potatoes of the day. Of course, I'm going to be answering your immigration questions in our comment section. I do have to remind everybody to check out our website at www.lawsb.com. You can go to our website, text my office 24 hours, all your questions, and we'll try to answer them as we can. You could also try to communicate with us through our website. It's the easiest way to communicate with us these days. You can also, because everyone knows how to text, and we have a 24-hour texting on our website. You can also check us out at Bradshaw Live on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. You can follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Instagram. Not sure what you do on Twitter, but I guess follow us on Twitter as well. You could also check us out on TikTok, our fastest growing social media platform. You can leave your questions on TikTok, and I'll try to answer it as best as I can. You just saw across the screen Bradshaw Live on Instagram, Real Brad Bernstein on Instagram. You can communicate with me directly as well at Real Brad Bernstein on Instagram. But right now, I want to remind everybody that Spar and Bernstein, we're going to get into your social media questions, so stay tuned. Every person who's left a question, I'm going to attempt to answer it in about 1 minute and 45 seconds. Everybody who's asked their questions in the social media comments. But right now, Spar and Bernstein handles personal injury claims as well as immigration cases. It's always a good idea to know what to do if you're injured in an accident. I have explained that New York is a no-fault state when it comes to motor vehicle accidents. This means that regardless of who has caused the accident, your insurance company will cover the medical expenses resulting from your injury within the coverage limit. In today's personal injury motor vehicle accident video series, I'm going to tell you who you can sue after a motor vehicle accident, what happens if the vehicles you were in had no insurance at the time of the accident, and how much you can get as compensation in a motor vehicle accident. Let's watch. You can file an injury claim against anyone who has contributed to the motor vehicle accident. Liable parties may include drivers, passengers, motorcyclists, bicyclists, pedestrians, road construction companies, and more. If the motor vehicle you were driving or riding as a passenger in did not have applicable insurance, the Motor Vehicle Accident Indemnification Corporation covers certain benefits. You must file the claim timely. MVAC, as it's known in short, is a nonprofit organization created by the New York State Legislature in 1958 to provide no fault and bodily injury protection to eligible claimants. An experienced attorney will look into your case and determine a fair compensation to pursue to support you during the recovery period and after it. At Spar & Bernstein, we offer a free initial consultation to discuss the details of your case and plan next steps. We consider the seriousness of your injuries, need for surgery, hospitalization, and treatment, inability to work for a period of time, length of time without being able to work, injury impact on your daily life, need for external help for routine everyday activities like bathing, eating, and more, psychological and emotional trauma, possible disfigurement or paralysis, and vehicle damage. Contact us at Spar & Bernstein for a free consultation regarding your case. We'll discuss your options and your next steps. All right, we're ready for social media check-in. Let's do it. All right, as always, our first questions come from our VIP Facebook fan page. You want to get your social media check-in questions answered first and guaranteed. Leave your questions on our Facebook VIP Brad Show Live page. All right, Thomas Anderson asks 2 questions. After waiting 31 months, my VAWA case status says new card is being reduced. What does that mean? It means you got approved. Congratulations. And it has been more than 10 days now. I don't see any of the status change. Should I contact USCIS? No. It means they're processing your card. Wait. Ma Dukes. Hi, Uncle Brad. Can someone who has a felony and spent 8 years in prison, felony charges were 20 years ago, file immigration papers for his wife who overstayed her visa and is now in the USA? The answer is yes, they can, as long as it was not sexual abuse of a minor. Useful, Uru, and Dupe, Sin Yorami. It's a mouthful, but I think I got it right. I filed my N-400 27 days earlier, which was a mistake by me, and I was denied. What can I do? If I refile another N-400, can the previous denial affect me? No, just refile again, and it won't affect you. Now it's being done properly and correctly. Yo, Vic. How hard is it to get a waiver approved on a removal of condition after divorce in a marriage-based case? If you're in a bona fide marriage and you can prove you had a financial relationship and lived with your spouse, it's straightforward. Leona Brown, if my husband had already sponsored me on his affidavit of support, but now we want to file for the kids, we both filed taxes together this year, so his salary amount has increased. Does it mean that me and him filing together automatically increase his income? The answer is yes. If you already have legal status, then you can use your income for your children as well. All right, let's go to our social media questions. I answered this question already. Let's go to the next one. Romatu Aducci with a question. Hi, Uncle Brad. Do I need to pay an I-45, I-765? I applied for VAWA, and also can I file at one time? Yes, if you applied for VAWA, you can file an I-45 and I-765 at the same time. All right, Shireen Humble. Hi, Brad. How soon after doing your biometrics do you receive your green card? I think I answered that question too, but it depends on when you filed your adjustment. But I said it's about a year and 15 months. Betty Lee Gordon, Squad Up Family. Brad, I'm an LPR. My husband is awaiting for interview in Jamaica. His priority date is March 8th, 2021. Do you think he will get an interview this year? I hope so. They're processing April 2021, so hopefully you'll get it. MHA, hi Brad, I got my approval I-360 January 2023. When do you think I'm going to get my green card? Well, if you filed your adjustment, you'll get your green card early 2024. If I'm adopting a child in a foreign country, can I just do a U.S. passport application for the child? No, you can't. It's a whole process to adopt a child in another country. Just going to get a U.S. passport, that's not going to happen. Shauna Wilby, hi Brad. If someone's mother filed for him, but she passed away before he got his green card, but this was years ago, does he still have a case? If he has a close family member who can substitute in as a humanitarian waiver, he has a case. Teresa Thompson, why is it when I want to travel on advance parole, when coming back in the U.S., they have to take you in the room and ask you questions? Because anyone can print out that piece of paper and show it to them. So they take you in to make sure you are who you are and you have a pending case. Sol Gura, My wife filed EB3 I-45 and looks like there's a small mistake in the address on the birth certificate. Does it affect her green card is taking longer? It shouldn't affect it, but I can't guarantee you. Omuba, can you get public assistance for U.S. citizen-born child while VAWA application is pending? Yes, you can. Joy, can a permanent resident travel outside the country multiple times per year without having any implications when applying for citizenship? You can travel multiple times. No trip more than 6 months. And you have to be physically in the United States for 30 out of 60 months. But multiple times is not a problem. Hi, Brad. My uncle petitioned for 5 of his siblings along with their spouses. They are in Jamaica. My father is his brother. My parents are married. He filed the petition back in 2007. Their priority date is June 16, 2007. The visa bulletin final action date has been stuck at March 22nd, 2007 for now over 2 years. I'm a U.S. citizen. Should I go ahead and petition for my parents or just wait? Go petition for your parents, because who knows how long this will be. It doesn't hurt. Andre Simpson. Hey, Uncle Brad. I filed for my mom in July 7th, 2021. She is at Jamaica and got noticed from the NVC saying that all her papers were approved and they're working with the embassy in Kingston to schedule an interview date. But that was September 21st of 2022, 7 months ago, and I still haven't got a date. What's the time frame? What can I do? Time frame is sometimes almost a year. The only thing you can do is threaten a mandamus. We talked about that earlier in the show. Hey, Brad, can you apply for citizenship without your green card? I mean, you lost your green card, but you've been a resident for 5 years? Yes. You never got a green card. Unlikely you can file for your citizenship unless you derive citizenship through your parents. Renee Morrison. Hi, Brad. First time asking a question. Always watching. I'm about to file for my 13-year-old son. Should I file for my 22-year-old daughter at the same time? Yes, of course. Winsome. Good evening, Brad. How long does it take for the I-130 to be approved? I'm a U.S. citizen. Petition for my husband in Jamaica. Over a year these days. Kim. Immigrant visa case denied due to a fraudulent conversion case. Was advised to apply for a waiver. It's over 20 years ago. Will I qualify for the waiver? You could get a waiver for if the fraudulent conversion case is, I guess, a criminal case, not an immigration case, not fraud in immigration. Fraud, you stole money or something. If the value was less than $10,000 and you didn't do a year in jail, you should get the waiver approved. It happened 20 years ago. Callie Legend, how long should I wait before filing for my mom after she arrives in the U.S.? 90 days. 90. Sonia Hutton. Hey, Brad. I got my green card 5 years ago, but I spent 3/4 of the time out of the USA. Can I apply for citizenship? No. 30 out of 60 months in the U.S. No trip more than 6 months. You don't qualify. Hey, Brad. My son was born in the United Kingdom. Oh, we answered that question. Doris. Hey, Brad. There's a shortage of teachers in the United States. I have a U.S. master's degree in education. Is there a possibility for me to be granted a work permit to teach in New York or another state? You need a job sponsor. But yes, if you have a job sponsor, you can get a work visa. Roberto Ponciano. Hello, Brad. This is Robert from the Bronx. Brad, is criminal possession of controlled substance 4th degree and aggravated felony? What's the possibility of becoming a U.S. citizen? It's very possible it's not an aggravated felony. I would say it's not. I would need to know more about what you're talking about in New York State. It's not an aggravated felony. You probably can become a citizen at some point. Patricia. Hey, can one travel from the mainland of Alaska to Hawaii without going through immigration? Yeah, you're not leaving the United States. Sarah. Hi, Brad. My dad was deported 15 years ago. He was detained immediately after entering the U.S. with a fraudulent document. Being that it's been so many years, would he be eligible for a green card if I file for him? I'm a U.S. citizen. No, unfortunately, no, because he needs a waiver for misrepresentation, and you can only get a waiver for misrepresentation through a parent or a spouse. King, Dalpodrov. Can a priority date from a particular country be a later date than the date posted on the visa bulletin? be an earlier date, you're eligible for a green card. Yes, that's the question. Janae, hi, Brad. You're doing a great job. Does the removal of the COVID emergency measure on May 11th mean that COVID-19 vaccines will be removed from the list of vaccines required for a green card? No, it does not. Daryl Winnabaugh, as an F1 and having a pending adjustment, will I lose my status if I use my adjustment work permit for CPT? It's not how I maneuver the two possibilities of CPT and work adjustment work permit. Once you file the adjustment, you're no longer on a student visa. So use your work permit that you get through the adjustment. Dolly Baby. So Brad, my sister signed up for her citizenship in 2019, but the paper was sent back to her because she had something missing on the paper. She filled it out and sent it back, and she hasn't heard any response. She probably screwed it up a second time, because if she filed in 2019, she should have gotten an interview already. Let her call me. Rosita, what does my husband work had a deportation? What is my husband work had a deportation? He stayed in the U.S. Can I still apply for him? If your husband has an order of deportation, we would have to look into the deportation, see if we can reopen his case first before you apply for him. Cynthia Wolf, is it risky for an undocumented immigrant to apply for an ITIN? No, it's not. No risk at all. Peter Yearwood, hi, Mr. Brad. I've been a victim of a crime in 2018. I did check my case status, and the earliest I should hear from USCIS is July 2024. Once I'm approved, do I get a work permit? For a U visa, you do. And you should be able to request a bona fide determination and get a work permit earlier. Dun Minunu David. Hello, Brad. I got married to a U.S. citizen. I got my work authorization, my traveling document. I'm waiting for my green card. We already did interview 2 times. Now I don't know what the rest of the question is. There's no rest of the question there. Eunice, my daughter's case is stuck at NVC. She is Zimbabwean living in South Africa. South African embassy is not processing the immigrant visas at the moment. Is there a way it can change the interview location? If she's a citizen of Zimbabwe, I guess you can change it back to Zimbabwe. Arthur, hello. Can an arriving alien in removal proceedings who is paroled adjust status based on being a parent of a U.S. citizen who is over 21 directly to USCIS? If you're paroled into the U.S., you can absolutely adjust status as a parent of a U.S. citizen over the age of 21. Asim, is it considered good if there is a request for additional documents from USCIS under the category EB2 non-immigrant waiver? If not, is there still a chance of success? What are the reasons for an RFE? An RFE is a request for more evidence, means that you haven't proven your case. It's neither good nor bad. A lot of times people get RFEs for all sorts of reasons. Even when you submit a good application, sometimes you get an RFE. So it's sometimes not good or bad. It depends on what's in the RFE. A Square. Hi, Brad. I received the approval for the I-130 request for I-824. Should it be sent to California Service Center where the application was approved? I received the approval for the I-130 request. You're doing an I-824 wherever the I-130 is sitting. That's where you file the I-824 if you want to transfer it somewhere else. I guess that's the answer. Nikki. Hi, Brad. Brad, what's the turnaround time for a K-1 visa adjustment to get a green card in Baltimore? July 2022. You should have a green card by July 2023. CMB, if someone was deported for over 10 years for rape, can their citizen child file for them? I doubt it. Sounds like they're an aggravated felon. Good evening, Brad. How long after getting married to a U.S. citizen can you file an I-130? Next day. I would say file as soon as possible. And let's see who else we got here. Lenar Adesanya. If my divorce papers for my country are considered fake by the USCIS, and after that I get divorce decree from the U.S., can I reapply? Yes, you can. And you should. Althea, like your video read. Good evening. I have a friend that got deported 20 years ago. Can he come back to the U.S.? He got caught with drugs. Not with drugs, you can't come back. Sharon, green card holder filed I-485 for minor child and it was denied. I-130 still pending. Do you think they will deny the I-130 too? If the I-485 was denied, that doesn't necessarily mean the I-130 will be denied. If the I-130 is denied, then for sure the I-45 will be denied. KL Holmes. I'm a U.S. citizen through my wife, but we have 3 kids. But when she put in my petition, she only put in 2 of the kids because we never have one of the kids' birth paper. Can we file for that child now? Yes, absolutely. Why not? Feel Good. Chi Productions. Brad, I filed a vacation case since 2019 and waiting for an answer approval, but they said it's not expected a decision will be made within 120 days. What's that mean? I don't know what a vacation case is. Maybe a VAWA? Advanced parole? I don't know what a vacation case is. It sounds like it's fun. I'd like a vacation too. Baroom. I've been in USA since 2009. I'm on TPS, travel outside the country, and got back with an I-512T. And my brother's about to get his citizenship. I'm currently in the USA. Can my brother sponsor me? Yes, but it's going to take forever. So find a different way. Goodwill. My lawyer made some mistakes on the 485, but he also forgot to include the filing fee, and it all came back as a result. Now I need to refile everything. Do I need to explain earlier mistakes? If it was just returned and never processed, you don't have to explain anything. If they processed it, I'm not sure what the mistakes were. So, if they're going to say fraud, then it's a different story. But it sounds like the case got filed and it all got returned for a bad filing fee. Then you don't have to explain anything. God's masterpiece. How long before you hear something if you file an adjustment in January? Adjustment based on what? Culture. I didn't do selective service. I came here when I was 23. I'm 30 now and got my green card in 2016. Can I still get my citizenship? Yes, you can. You're supposed to do a selective service before 26, so you got to wait till after 31. 5 years after your 26th birthday, you can file for your citizenship. Nikki D. Hey, Brad, can you fly out of country if you have a green card? Yep. Bye-bye. Enjoy your trip. Shermindabowen Trade All. After getting my removal proceedings dismissed, can I adjust my status regardless of the charges that were filed against me? I don't know what the charges were. That's not necessarily true. Blessing Vincent. Hey, Brad, I filed a vow in 2018. The status has been USCIS is undergoing security check. How long will this take? I don't know, but it sounds like you're waiting 5 years and they're violating your rights and you should do a mandamus. Hey, Brad, this is Carlene. Hey, Brad, if you get your new card is being produced, what does that mean? It means you're approved. Jean Million. When somebody's visa gets revoked and they send back to the country, it's over 10 years now. What can they do to apply for a next visa? You need to apply for a non-immigrant visa waiver because that person got deported at the airport. I assume they got revoked at the airport and sent home. Shanette, I have a job sponsor. Can I get a visa for my kids as well? I don't know what the job sponsor is doing for you, but possibly. Absalom. Hey, Brad, for citizenship 2019 July and got denied, filed for a request for hearing. Got the hearing, but no decision on my hearing yet. It's been more than 3 years. What should I do? I think you need to have me review your case and see why you got denied, what happened on your appeal, and then make a decision on whether we do what's called a de novo review, which is bring the case into federal court, a mandamus, which is threaten the government to bring it into court if they don't make a decision, or withdraw and refile. Not sure yet, and they need to know a lot more. Tashana McLeod, I came through the border. How do I get advanced parole? I want to go to Panama. I don't know what your status is. Slice of Zion. Hey, Brad, I got an I-751 pending and I have my citizenship interview coming up next month. What can I expect? You can expect them to ask for proof of the bona fides of your marriage between you and your spouse. Pettigay, I'm Brad. Oh, hi, Brad. I'm a U.S. citizen. I applied for a K-1 visa for my fiance. Does he need a medical and a police report for this visa? Yes, he does. Sani. Hi, Uncle Brad. Is the visa bulletin for all that are applying or just for LPR? Sorry, I could not remember. Visa bulletin applies to unmarried children of U.S. citizens, spouses of residents, children of residents, married children of U.S. citizens, unmarried children of residents over 21, brothers and sisters, all employment-based, all investor visas. Tucci, I got an EAD and parole through marriage. I'm no longer married and a VAWA. My EAD and parole expired and I applied for renewal. Since my VAWA has not been approved, can I travel with the extension? The answer is yes. If you have a pending adjustment with advanced parole, you can absolutely travel. JB, hi, Mr. Brad. I'm a TPS holder. Can I travel abroad with the TPS while applying for a green card through marriage with a U.S. citizen? You cannot travel with TPS, but you can get advanced parole through TPS and travel abroad. Sure, but if you file for adjustment, then you got to get the advanced parole through adjustment, because if you travel on the TPS with the advanced parole and not the advanced parole through the adjustment, then your adjustment will be denied. Sherman D. Bowen, trade all. If a judge dismissed removal proceedings, can I adjust status? Probably, but I would need to know more. Estefano, hi everyone. When I start to calculate 5 years of asylum granted to apply for citizenship, when you receive the green card or when you apply for it, calculate, there's a date on your green card. It says resident since. That's the calculation. San Andrean Srimos, married to a USA citizen. I got my green card, divorced, and remarried. Can I file for my new spouse? Can I apply for citizenship? If you got your green card through marriage and you got divorced and you're not a citizen yet, you got to wait for 5 years before you file for a new spouse. Once you've had a green card for 5 years, you can file for your citizenship. Florence, can I get a green card? My case is dismissed over 30 years. I have no idea about your case or how you're going to get a green card, so I need to know more. Brandon B, or Brandon 13, excuse me. Hi, Brad. Thank you for all the help you're providing on a daily basis. When I have my citizenship test and I pass it, does it mean that the oath ceremony is going to happen the same day in California? No, it does not. Your oath ceremony comes a little later. Kenneth, I submitted an RFE, most recent tax returns, because 2021 tax didn't qualify. It's been more than 63 days. How long is the RFE going to process? Minimum 120 days, maybe longer. Suli, how long should you wait administrative processing maximum for immigrant visa for your spouse? Administrative processing maximum is forever. So if they're violating your rights, you need to call me. And finally, last question. Kun Lasong official, can I use my income if my U.S. citizen didn't have enough income? I have a social security number. No, you can't. You have to get a second affidavit of support from somebody else. All right, I'll answer a few more. Manpreet, hi, Brad. I filed a VAWA, my green card holder. Can I use the I-130 priority date for the I-45 for my I-360 pending? You can just file an adjustment based on LPR status to begin with, and yes, you can use the I-130 priority date as well. But to adjust status, priority dates are current for LPRs. Texas, can I apply for medical with the prima facie in Texas? Yes. Medicaid, yes. All right, this is definitely the last question. Mula Concha, I have a pending VAWA and I-45 pending as well. Question, I have a combo card, but I came illegally to USA. Can I travel abroad with this pending case? Yes, you can. You can travel with the combo card as long as you have it and your VAWA is pending. All right, so that is our social media check-in for the day. I want to talk a little bit now about Chelsea Hernandez. Chelsea Hernandez is a Mexican-American filmmaker whose documentary, Building the American Dream, exposes construction industry injustices in her home state of Texas, where at least half of the construction workforce is undocumented. Chelsea joined me last week to discuss her film and what she uncovered. Now we'll watch the final part of our discussion where we discuss what people can do if they're dealing with unsafe working conditions on a job site. Let's watch. Chelsea Hernandez is a Mexican-American filmmaker based in Austin, Texas. Her documentary, Building the American Dream, delves into the injustices in the construction industry in Texas, where, according to Remzekla, it is estimated that around half of the state's 1 million construction workers are undocumented. Building the American Dream is Chelsea's first directorial debut, and she joins me here on Bradshaw Live to discuss the film and her work. Welcome, Chelsea. Thanks for coming on. But before we get into our conversation, let's just watch a trailer from Building the American Dream.
Cuando nos venimos de México tenemos un sueño. Iba a ser algo bueno, un buen futuro.
Me metí a la escuela en El Salvador. Allí fue donde aprendí un poquito de electricidad. Nunca me imaginé que no me iban a pagar.
Randy se empezó a estar malo desde las 10 de la mañana y él le dijo que se sentía mal y nunca le decía deja de trabajar o no, él nomás le decía, lo corría para un lado.
I'm the sister of a fallen construction worker. You have the power to protect the workers who built this city.
Es hora de pedir justicia y que digamos un hasta aquí, no más muertes.
These are folks who work 10 hours doing the hardest job you can possibly do, and they're not afforded the basic rights of water.
Nosotros estamos peleando por todos, sin importar si es legal o es ilegal, de nacionalidad que sea.
What are some of the common misconceptions you found that people have regarding construction site safety?
I think people wonder why workers continue to work when they're not getting paid, not realizing that the majority of them are undocumented workers. These employers keep promising that they'll get paid, but it doesn't happen. And in Claudia and Alex's case, that was an extreme situation of really what happened.
In New York City, at least, whether you are legal or out of status, if you don't get paid, you can sue your employer.
There was a federal courthouse being built here in Austin, and there were 6 American citizens who weren't getting paid, and they had to go to the organization to fight for what they were owed.
The Hollywood Reporter, they wrote that Building the American Dream is an eye-opener about the abuse of workers whose immigration status makes them victims. What were some of your most shocking discoveries about the construction industry and undocumented workers in Texas?
Just the exorbitant amount of workers getting hurt on the job. We had another worker we had filmed who had stepped on a nail, and his employer told him to keep working. He thought, the pain would go away. And a few days later, his foot was so swollen that the employer told another worker, take him to the hospital because I don't want him to die here. He had to get 5 of his toes amputated.
In New York, there is strict liability. If you get injured on a work site because either the employer did not follow proper safety protocol, didn't give you a proper safety device, or because you fall or something falls on you. First thing you should always do is stay exactly where you are. Don't get driven to the hospital. Don't have your employer drive you to the hospital. Because as soon as that happens, employer says, this person didn't get hurt here, and you're an undocumented alien, and you're concerned about bringing litigation, and now there's a question of whether you were even working on that work site because you're getting paid off the books. There's no payroll records for you. So if you get injured, you stay exactly where you are. Everybody has a cell phone. You call 911 for 2 reasons. Number one, it's the quickest way to the hospital is with an ambulance.
Yeah.
It's quicker than your employer driving you. And number 2, an ambulance picking you up where you got injured in a construction site documents you were injured on a construction site. And they have safety inspectors on the job site. The safety inspectors, they make pretend they're your friend, but they are not your friend. The safety inspectors are employed by the insurance companies to try to get information from you so that they can say they're not responsible for the accident. They come to interview you, they come to be your friend, but they're really not your friend. So really, if you get hurt, don't talk to anyone but your doctor and your lawyer. Okay?
That's great advice.
And lastly, take a lot of pictures, because by their own design, construction sites change every day because things are getting built. Does Texas require companies to have workers' compensation insurance?
No, Texas is the only state that workers' compensation is not required for contractors.
As a worker in New York, if you get injured, your medical bills get paid through workers' compensation, and you have strict liability to sue for your pain and suffering the owner of the property. But that's not how it works in Texas.
No.
Can you tell us how it works in Texas?
There are employers who are trying to do good out there. I don't want to vilify the entire industry, but there are companies who do provide workman's comp and liability, and they are proud to provide that. But then you start getting into the subcontractors, right? and that sub's hiring another sub who's hiring another sub, and things get lost down the line. And then that's where we see a lot of accidents happening because they don't have liability or they're not providing workman's compensation, and just, getting guys off the street. And honestly, here in Texas, like, there's a shortage of workers. I mean, in 2017, right before Hurricane Harvey hit, there was a 20,000 worker shortage in Houston alone. It's no big deal to have a worker get hurt on the job. They'll dump them off at the hospital and pick up some new people because people are looking for work and they've got plenty of jobs to fill.
Tell me a little bit about your immigration background.
Well, so I'm a fourth generation Texan, Mexican American. My family's been here for a long time. And so I've sort of, I guess, assimilated into the Texan ways. I grew up here in Texas, born in San Antonio, but I have a lot of friends who are my age who are first generation Mexicans, and, seeing their parents fight and work really hard so that they can get an education. There's a lot of universal elements there of just parents trying to give their children a good life. And I think that's what also kind of drew me to the story, is seeing these immigrants, just put food on their table, provide the best childhood that they can for their kids.
So where can people watch Building the American Dream? Maybe Joe Biden will watch it and change the laws. You never know.
Yeah, we are working on that, because
Right.
these issues with worker safety have been happening for a very long time. And so right now, we just wrapped up streaming on PBS, but we are about to announce an educational distributor, and we'll be able to be available for streaming universities and libraries, and also be working on having community screenings, all in the virtual space.
There's a website for buildingtheamericandream.com. What do you have on buildingtheamericandream.com?
So if you go to our website, we've got a resources tab. You can get information for worker safety and know your rights information in the construction field for different states, including Texas. We've also added some COVID-19 resources on how to keep you and your employers safe, and it is bilingual.
Great. What is your American dream?
I feel like I'm living a little bit of it right now. I had always wanted to be in media. I had a kids show when I was 8 years old, like a little Martha Stewart show, but for kids that was on the local channels in Austin. I've always been intrigued by journalism and documentary film, and I just hope I can continue making films for the rest of my life.
Building the American Dream. She exposed the underbelly of the Texas construction industry, exploiting undocumented immigrants. Certainly eye-opening, and thank you very much for coming on. Great job, and wow, what a labor of love to do that over a decade. Congratulations.
Yeah.
All right, so that was Chelsea Hernandez. Really important stuff there going on in Texas and in her film. We should check it out. Programming note, I'm told I read the wrong questions for the VIP social media check-in for those people who leave their questions in our VIP Bradshaw Live Facebook page. So my apologies. I do have the right questions now. So as we always promise to answer those questions first, I do want to answer them and not leave them for next week. Mio New asks a question. The I-130 applied concurrently with the I-485. The petitioner is a permanent resident. One child together born after petitioning. How do we tell USCIS about it? How does telling them about our child make any difference in our case? You don't have to tell them right now, but when you show up to your interview, you bring the birth certificate, and having a child born in the marriage is very good evidence of it's a real marriage. And that's what you need to prove. It's a bona fide marriage to get a green card. Linda Allison highly favored James with a question. My mom is here visiting and a U.S. citizen. Can I file for her now? She's going back home to complete the process. She's been here since March and will go back in May. Does the 90-day rule apply if she's not staying? If she's not staying, then you can't file for her now. You haven't filed for her at anything. You can file an I-130 for her now and she can go home, absolutely. The 90-day rule only applies if she's filing for her adjustment of status here. So file for her now and then let her go home in May. Jean Carlos Rosario. I was convicted of an aggravated assault in the 3rd degree. I'm a legal permanent resident of the United States. It's my only criminal record. Can I apply for citizenship? What are my options? It depends on when the assault was and what your sentence was. For example, if you were sentenced to more than a year in jail, you're an aggravated felon. You're never going to become a citizen. So I need to know a lot more information. I also need to know when it happened, because you need to prove 5 years good moral character. Sandeep Singh, if you remarry after VAWA I-360 is approved, but your I-45 is still pending, will it affect the green card? No. You can remarry after the VAWA is approved, but you haven't filed your adjustment yet, or the adjustment hasn't been fully approved yet. So you can get married, but you can't get married until the I-360 is approved. Lawrence and Deep, what are the many advantages of being a green card holder and being a U.S. citizen? The difference between being a green card holder and being a United States citizen, the main advantage, two main advantages. One, you can vote. So you have a right to have representation. And two, you have the right to live anywhere in the world that a U.S. passport can take you to, and still be able to return to the United States. As a green card holder, every time you leave, you get inspected when you return to the United States, and you may be found inadmissible, either because of criminal records or because you stayed out of the country for too long. And Leona Brown with the last VIP question: do I need passport photos for my kids I-130 outside of the U.S.? And the answer is no, you do not. All right, we're ready to get to our speed round, our last portion of the show, where I try to answer 10 immigration questions in under 50 seconds. And if I do, I throw myself a party. And if I don't, then my screen blows up. Little game we play here. All right, we're ready to go. 10 immigration questions. As they come up on the screen, I will read it and try to answer as fast as I can. We got 50 seconds, 10 questions. Start whenever we want. We're going to start right now. 1, can a green card holder file for a spouse to adjust status? Only if they're in legal status. How long does a U.S. citizen child filing for a parent take? At least a year, 2 years. Should I wait 90 days after a minor child arrives in the U.S. to file their adjustment status? Yes. Is I-45 application canceled after withdrawal of the I-130? Yes. 5, can someone who served 5 years for drug charges petition for their spouse? Yes. Where do I go to file for a work visa in Los Angeles? You don't go anywhere. You file it with USCIS. 7, I just got my green card. Can I travel with it? Absolutely. Bon voyage. 8, can I marry with a VAWA pending? No, you got to wait for the VAWA to be approved. 9, if you're married in the U.S., can you get married in another country? Sure, but why? You're already married. How many times are you going to get married? 10, can I adjust my status if my U.S. citizen spouse lives outside the United States? No, because you're not living together in a bona fide marriage. The end. And I did it. Stop. Don't blow me up. No, we did it. I thought you were going to blow me up anyway. And I just want to get back to that one question. Can you marry outside of the United States if you're married in the U.S.? I presume that's to the same person. If you plan on marrying somebody else in another country and you're married in the U.S., now you're a bigamist, you're breaking the law. But if you're marrying the same person in the U.S. and you're marrying them in another country, you can get married in every country. There's only one marriage certificate that counts, which is the first one. All right, let's go to comments of the day. What do we got? All right, our first comment of the day is Truey. Just came across this platform. Thank you all that you do. The immigration process is so stressful. Lisa Bling Rose, I love you. Uncle Brad is doing the show by showing the pic and comments on the top. I love how Uncle Brad is doing the show by showing the picture and comments on the top. Thank you. KCJAJ, the best immigration lawyer. I appreciate it. I agree. Ma Dukes, be quiet, students. Immigration class is in session with Professor Brad. Thank you very much, Ma Dukes. Pettigay Watson, thank you for answering my question. I used you for my green card in 2010. You are awesome. Thank you. I love all the compliments. I think that's it. No more comments of the day. So we have come to the end of our show, but we'll be back next Monday, April 24th at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, remember to like and subscribe to Bradshaw Live on Facebook, YouTube, Bradshaw Live on Instagram, Bradshaw Live on YouTube, Bradshaw Live on Facebook, Bradshaw Live on TikTok, Bradshaw Live on Twitter. And for all our great content, immigration, personal injury information, and a heck of a lot more. Have a great evening, great week. Stay safe. We'll see you back next Monday. Thanks for watching. So, Sam, as part of the production, we have to say this disclaimer at the end of the show. Do you mind reading it for me?
Okay, but you know, Brad, I have to do everything around here.
Forget it. I'll do it. The proceeding was information only and not specific legal advice. Consult an attorney about your individual situation. Prior successful results do not guarantee a similar outcome in the future. To make an appointment with the Spar and Bernstein Law Firm, located at 225 Broadway in New York City, call 1-800-529-5465. That's 1-800-529-5465. Easy to remember, 1-800-LAW-LINK. That's 1-800-LAWLINK. Once again, make a call to 1-800-529-5465. And of course, link up with the law offices of Spar and Bernstein, located at 225 Broadway on the 5th floor. If I were you out there, make the call, make the link, make the connection, make it Spar and Bernstein. 1-800-LAWLINK. That's 1-800-529-5465. And visit us now at our Connecticut office, 221 Main Street, Suite 501, Hartford, Connecticut. Visit us in Connecticut or in New York at 225 Broadway. That's 1-800-529-5465. 1-800-LAW-LINK, 1-800-529-5465. What are you doing? So, Sam, as part of the production, we have to say this disclaimer